everybody. Morning. Morning. Thanks for engaging me so quickly. I appreciate that. So, once upon a time, how many of you have heard the story of the person who does the big bet, who goes all in at a very young age, only to lose everything, and before the age of 30 rise from the ashes like a phoenix? Well, when I was 24 years old, I was that guy. I was $70,000 in debt. I was evicted from my apartment. I had my car repossessed, and I was bankrupt and filed for bankruptcy before the age of 25 years old. And I did it for a very simple reason. I wanted to be a single dad. When I was 5 years old, my father passed away. So I knew what it was like to grow up without a father. And I was darned that it wasn't going to happen to my son. And after my marriage failed, and I took a look at what I wanted to do, I wanted to have joint custody with my soon-to-be ex-wife. She decided she wanted full custody, and that scared the daylights out of me because we were having a custody battle in Detroit, Michigan. I don't know how many of you know it or not, but in Detroit, Michigan, the success ratio for a man to get custody in the mid-90s was 1%. But the debt I incurred was worth every dollar to have that battle. The first thing I needed was luck. I was lucky enough to have a judge who was assigned to me who was brand new to the bench. She was less than a year in, and she wasn't jaded from years and years of custody battles and families destroying themselves. I had to be intelligent. I had to pick the right attorney. I picked the attorney with 25 years experience. My ex-wife picked the attorney fresh out of law school. And I had to have trust. I had to have trust in myself that I was going to be a good dad to my son. I had to have trust that I could pass and convey that message to my attorney on to the judge. I had to trust that the judge would not have a preconceived notion of me because of my gender. And I had to trust that the system would take a look at me as a human being. November 1993, got a call from my attorney, and I got full custody of my son. I was euphoric. I cannot put into words the emotions and the excitement that I had. One, my trust as a human being was rewarded. The intelligent decisions I made turned out to be the right ones, and I was darn lucky to get a person like our judge who was going to have faith and belief in me as a human being. And I thank God every day that I was given that opportunity to raise my son. That's a picture of the two of us in Machu Picchu on top of a mountain in Peru in June of 2017, graduating his college accomplishments. When it really comes down to it, it was three things: luck, intelligence, and trust. I was lucky to be in the right place at the right time. I was lucky to have the right judge assigned to me. I was intelligent enough to pick the right attorney. And I had enough trust in myself as a father that I thought I could possibly have that type of success. When I was thinking about my success, I was thinking about other successful people. And this is Jeff Bezos, founder and CEO of Amazon.com. Jeff has a saying that came out in Huffington Post of 2017, stating, the success of Amazon is really tied to three things: half luck, half good timing, and half brains. In 1994, Jeff read an article that showed trends in the marketplace. It showed that internet usage was increasing 2,300% year over year. He thought, how can I capitalize on this trend in the marketplace? So he started Amazon.com in his basement. He was actually filling the orders himself. So if you've got one of the first orders, you actually have Jeff's fingerprints on your packages. He was selling books he didn't have. Like a typical entrepreneur, he was overpromising and under-delivering. So he had to go to the local bookstores and see if he could scrounge up the books he didn't have to deliver to you as his customers. Jeff has a bold bet philosophy, and it's really simple. 9 out of 10 bold bets are going to fail. Accept that. But take them anyways. And when you take them, your reward is going to be successful. The 10% return on a 100x multiplier speaks for itself, and that is why he's one of America's richest people today. Jeff had a philosophy of focusing on long-term growth strategies. And when you focus on long-term growth strategies, Wall Street's not a big fan of that. Why? Because you lose money. You lose a lot of money. So Jeff took his bold bet philosophy, wrapped it in with his idea of acquiring companies. He acquired 41 companies from 1998 to 2013. How many women have bought shoes from Zappos? Yeah, he owns Zappos now. So it's really a powerful way to take your business through an organic system, add in new companies to help make your business be successful. But that forced him to be misunderstood by Wall Street and shareholders and stakeholders who are pressuring him to add more shareholder value. But that growth has taken them to the stratospheric heights. He was recently named America's richest man. Success comes in many forms, but like my story for getting custody of my son, I think it comes down to three things. Jeff had the luck to read the right article on the right day. He was intelligent enough to figure out how can he capitalize on the data he saw before himself, and he trusted himself that when there was failure occurring, like the Amazon Fire Phone, anybody remember that? It was a $170 million loss. He was able to overcome that and fail forward and fail through that process. So I wish I would have met Jeff Bezos when I was 27 years old. When I was 27 years old, I wrote a business plan and I needed $140,000 to start my company. All I could secure, and I should have done the program our previous speaker did and put it out to my friends and family, the 3 Fs, and I can only get $15,000. My business plan said I needed $140,000. And remember, I just got custody of my son. I took that bold bet anyways. I took that $15,000 and I started my own company. I was lucky because I started my company in 1997, and for those of you who are old enough in the room to remember what 1997 was like, the country was at full employment. And I started an all-purpose generic staffing company. I was all things to all people. I was the Walmart of staffing. If you needed a body, I would go find it. So if I could find a body quick enough, because the country was at full employment, I was getting a lot of clients quickly. By day 72, we had turned a profit, which by any stretch of the imagination is pretty darn successful. Because the typical failure rate of companies is 80%. The typical business doesn't make money until 3 years in. Now, I quickly realized I did not have it all figured out. I was making some great decisions, I was making some awful decisions, and I was pretty darn lucky. Monkeys in my mind, the inner critic in my head started talking to me saying, I don't have it all figured out. Started creating anxiety, started creating fear-based thought processes. And in 2006, I figured out I didn't have it all figured out. We were losing money. We were in bad shape, and I was being incredibly self-critical. I was losing trust in my staff. I was losing trust in our company. I was losing trust in the marketplace. But most importantly, I was losing trust in me. I started making poor decisions to keep artificial harmony versus keeping the business going. And it was really, really scary to lose trust in myself, and I felt alone. I'm curious, just in the audience today, how many of you have lost trust in yourself before? How many of you felt alone before? Okay, I'd like everybody to take a look around the room. You're not alone. So in 2006, I was $500,000 in debt. That's money I had personally guaranteed to the bank and personally money I had promised to pay to vendors. I couldn't get out of bed. I was paralyzed with fear. I didn't know what my next steps were going to be. Then it dawned on me that I don't know what the heck I'm doing right now. So I did the first thing I could think of, and I reached out and I asked for help. I joined a group called EO, and they have a phrase called the entrepreneur alone is an entrepreneur at risk. And I decided that I no longer could stand to be alone. Because I had imposter syndrome. I didn't know a lot, and I didn't want to tell anybody. I didn't know what I didn't know, and I was afraid to ask for help. And most entrepreneurs, those of you who know them, have very much what they call an oracle thought process. I have to be the be-all and the do-all, and I have to know everything. Well, I didn't, and I didn't want to admit it to anybody. I was scared. The $500,000 in debt was more painful. It was so painful, but what was more painful was my lack of confidence in myself. When your business is successful, when my business was successful, it became who I was. If the business was doing great, I was doing great. If the business was doing awful, I was doing awful. I had a foundational shake of confidence. So, when I reached out for help, I reached out to the world's leading expert in the staffing industry. He had 25 years experience and ran a $500 million company. And I brought him in and said, please help me. I don't know what I'm doing. And he read my financials, and he was like, you don't know what you're really doing when it comes to the finances. Tell me about your decisions. I told him my decisions, and I told him what I wanted to do versus what I did. And he goes, Todd, why are you making these decisions with your brain when your gut's trying to drive you in the right directions? Why don't you trust your gut? Changed my life. I decided to change my company. I needed to change me. Because what flows from me goes out into the universe. What flows from me goes out into my company. I realized at the time that the staff I had working for me were not the right people. We had artificial harmony. We had dysfunction. We were a really big mess. And it started at the top. So I was going to change me. So on September 9th, 2006, I made the most important decision in my professional career and the most difficult decision of my life. I walked into my company, and I fired everybody in 1 hour, and I started over. The change was coming from within me. I needed new people in my life. I had hit bottom, and I needed a better result. So, 2006, I'm $500,000 in debt, can't sleep, can't function. In 2007, we made the INC5000 as one of America's fastest growing companies. Diversified Industrial Staffing, our business, stayed on that list 5 of the next 6 years, and we were Michigan's most successful small business. How did we do that? We quit focusing on the revenue, and we focused on the margin. We focused on where we could actually make money as compared to make other people happy. We focused on going from a generic staffing firm and a generalist to a niche-focused provider. We looked at an area in the marketplace where there was an increased demand and a diminished supply of talent, and we decided to really go and drive that home. I stopped hiring for resumes, and I started hiring for DNA. I needed good people in my life, and I could teach you to be a good recruiter. I couldn't teach you to be a good person. And I took financial responsibility for the company. I learned all the finances that I didn't know that the consultant said, what are you doing? Learned it all. We went from we improved cash flow and we improved profits. What that did is it took us from $500,000 in debt. Within 5 years, we paid off all of our vendors, paid off all of our line of credit, and I got to tell you, that's my proudest moment as the CEO of this company. Success comes in many forms. The road is very unique for every one of us, but the formula, I think, is very simple. What are you going to do to put yourself in the way of luck? What intelligent decisions can you make, whether it's book smart or street smart? It doesn't matter. Make intelligent decisions. Trust those decisions. And if those decisions are incorrect, then trust that you're comfortable failing forward and you're going to go out and make a difference going forward with your family, potentially in your business. So I challenge you guys, what are you guys going to do next? Because you know what? Success is before you right now. The future stands before you today, not tomorrow. Thank you very much.
The Hero Roundtables are the global events that ask the question, what is a hero? You've just seen one hero talk. To find more and join the conversation, visit our website or social media.